Hello everyone and welcome back to our 9-month odyssey around the world. And today there's something a bit different. We are getting off the ship for almost a week to tour the wine fields of Burgundy, the mountains of Switzerland, and the beer halls of Munich.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we are living that full life, going all the way around the world and taking 9 months to do it on the ultimate world cruise.
Well, we sure are, friends. And today we're in Le Havre, France, and this is on the northern coast of France. And our ship is actually docking here overnight. However, we are going to get off for a week because we have things we want to see and do in Europe here. It has been about 25 years since we've lived here. And so there's places that we specifically want to go back to. And our ship, the places that it was going to dock as it journeys along for this week, we have already visited.
Yeah,
so.
like Skagen, Denmark, Bruges, Belgium, Southampton. I used to have a team of engineers in Southampton.
Yeah.
So been there many times.
Right. Yeah. So we're kind of making our own little journey here for a week. But we have someone fun that's joining us.
That's right. When I was 18, my family hosted a foreign exchange student from Belgium. Her name was Nadia. And all these years, maybe we shouldn't say how many years.
A lot.
Yeah, later. We've stayed in contact. Her children are about the same age as our children. We've, not super close, not like we see each other every year, but we certainly have stayed in contact. And when we knew we were going to be in this area of Europe, we arranged to have her come over, and actually her and her father have met us here in Le Havre, and we're going to spend the entire week with them traveling through the continent in Central Europe here in France, in Germany, in Switzerland, and just really have a nice time. In fact, we're going to meet her husband. He works in Switzerland. We're going to meet him there. So the next 3 videos, this one, the next one's about Switzerland, and the one after that will be about Munich, are all our adventures off the ship and seeing the continent of Europe, seeing all these wonderful places. And the great thing about this is she planned it all. so this time we didn't have to do all this planning and think of all this. She did a wonderful job putting this together. And you can actually see the reunion here when we got off the ship and got to see her. I got to see her father, who I've met. I actually stayed at their house when I was 18 years old and backpacking through Europe, and seen him a couple times since then. And in fact, my father came over for her wedding, and she had 2 fathers walk her down the aisle. So this was a really nice family reunion to get back together. And that's why I really believe strongly in the foreign exchange student program. So if you ever have a chance to host a student, please give some thought to that.
Well, we left Le Havre and we went to the charming little town of Honfleur. Now, this is a little seaside town, and it is just so quintessential France. And in fact, while we were there, we stopped to have some breakfast. I had a chocolate croissant and some coffee, and you had a pastry basket.
Yep.
But we met others from the ship that were there on royal excursions. So it's a very popular destination to go to.
Right, yeah. If your ship docks in Le Havre, chances are there's a good chance for you, or good ability for you to go to Honfleur. And it's a don't miss. It is, yeah, like you said, you can think of a postcard, and that's what the town looks like. So it was nice to walk through there, get a few pictures. But we had a 5.5-hour drive ahead of us, so we needed to get on the road to Burgundy.
Right. Now, Burgundy, to get there, if we would take the straight route, it's going to take us right through Paris. However, tomorrow, the very next day, is the start of the Olympics. So we had been warned on the ship that we really should stay away from Paris. In fact, all of the Royal Caribbean excursions that were going to Paris had been canceled. Now, that said, some of our friends on the ship did go to Paris. They actually went to the Olympics, and they said they had a wonderful time.
Right.
So you got to weigh the pros and cons.
Right. Maybe don't always listen to those kind of things and make your own decisions, right? Yeah. Well, we headed through Paris and headed on down to the Burgundy region. We went to the town of Beaune, which is the heart of the Burgundy region. And we checked into our hotel, small little place just outside the main city center. And we needed to find some food because we've been traveling all day. So we left the hotel, we went into town, which was only about 5 minutes away by car, parked and walked through the town. Amazingly charming. We actually been to this town gosh, when we mentioned going with the children, 20 plus
5 years
years ago,
ago.
25 years ago. So it was great to get to see it again. And we were looking for a quintessential French Burgundy cafe, and we found Bistro Bourguignon.
We did, and we found that because Nadia's dad, his name is Willie. He is a wine connoisseur. He knows his wine, and he found this little cafe that really specializes in wine. And boy, they had some interesting wines there.
Right, you can see the wine list here, and in fact, they had several bottles that were 5,000 euros, 3,000 euros, 2,000 euros.
Can you imagine?
It's just, yeah, just quite amazing, the wine selection that they had. But of course, we did not get one of those bottles. But we did get a very nice bottle of Burgundy wine, had that with our meal. I had a beef in a wine sauce. You had actually had beef bourguignon.
I did have beef bourguignon, and it was so good. I was like, I'm in France. I am having Julia Child's beef bourguignon.
That's right. That's right. And the meal actually started with escargot.
It did.
Yeah.
It was a set meal, and then it also included dessert, which was a pear at dessert.
Right, and a cheese plate.
That's right.
Yep,
That's right.
and a cheese plate. So all of that, and it was just absolutely wonderful. Now, I had a real curiosity about this massive wine list, and so I went and talked to the proprietor of the establishment and said, "Hey, can I see your wine cellar?" And he kind of looks around and he goes, I can't take everybody down there. He goes, "I'll take one person down there." And so I got the camera and went on down, and here you can see it is truly a cellar. They have a gate that you go down. We followed through all these little tunnels under the cafe and under the streets and the buildings next door. And that's when I asked him, I said, "So what's your most expensive bottle of wine?" And he took and he showed me here. And yeah, that one is, if you match the names up, that is 5,000 euros for that bottle of wine. And they actually had about 8 bottles of it in that case down there. So
wow.
Quite amazing that you've got $40,000 of wine in one little case. So
we've had a neat little excursion there.
yes, we did. So that was, that again, pro tip. Don't ever be afraid to ask. Quite often people are amazing. They want to share their experiences, their restaurants, their establishments. And so if you're curious about something, just go and talk to them. What's the worst they can say? No?
That's exactly. I agree completely. Well, the evening was really passing. They have nice long meals, and so now it is dark. And as we just started walking back towards the car, and we ran across a building that was having this light show projected onto the building, and it was really quite fascinating because the projectors were just perfect with the outline of the building, and it told this story. Well, then come to find out, there's several of these locations where there's these projectors projecting on the building, and we found a couple of others as well. One was the Basilica
of Notre Dame, yeah,
that's there. That was a neat light show to see that. And then the other was there at the hospital in Beaune.
Right. Well, so since we're mentioning the hospital, we did go back, we got a nice rest, we got up, and then we toured Beaune in the morning. And that, of course, is the first place anybody touring Beaune, France is going to go, is the hospital.
Well, the hospital was founded in 1443, and interestingly enough, it was actually a hospital until 1971, which is really hard to believe, but they showed where they took care of the common people. They showed where they took care of the wealthier people. I found the kitchen absolutely fascinating, how they fed those sick people.
I love the pharmacy.
Was
the
also
pharmacy
very
was really
interesting
neat, yeah.
as well. So it's a really neat place to see, and a place you shouldn't miss if you're in Beaune.
And you can't miss it because the tile work on the roof and the structures of the roof are just amazing. And in fact, you probably have seen what we're showing you here in pictures somewhere, and you're like, oh, where is this from? Because it is so quintessential France that the roof lines and the hospital is very, very famous.
Right. Now there is an audio that you can listen to. They give you a little player. And so pro tip, if you bring along some old earbuds that you could plug into that, then you could just listen that way rather than holding the whole device up to your ear, which
Yeah.
would be good. And then as you go along, it says, punch in number 17 to hear about the kitchen or to hear about the different specific areas.
Right. In fact, we've run into several tours where we're on our own that it would be very handy to have a pair of earbuds. So just throw those in your little backpack or purse that you carry, and so you've always got a pair with you. Well, one don't miss when you go into the Hospital of Beaune is the altarpiece. Now, when you're touring the area and you go into the chapel, you will see a replica of this altarpiece, but then right toward the end of the tour, kind of near the exit, they have a dark glassed-in room that's climate controlled, light controlled, and then you can see the actual painting in the altarpiece. It's called The Last Judgment. Shows Christ up above with St. Michael below holding scales and weighing the souls and all this. It's quite a
moving.
spectacular altarpiece.
Yeah, it really is something.
And the other thing that is amazing about this hospital, how they got their funding is over years land was donated to them, and it's up to 150 acres now. And you can imagine the wine land in Burgundy is very valuable. And the way this land is divided up, and we'll get into this a little more later, is Cru, Grand Cru, Premier Cru, and that's the soil and the land and where it sits. And they own this 150 acres is all Premier Cru and Grand Cru for growing grapes. And so then
it's very valuable.
Very valuable. And so the wineries then grow the grapes, they make wine and then barrel it, and then they auction all that wine off for charity to support the hospital. Well, now that they're not actually caring for patients, that all goes to the Beaune Hospital charity, and they've raised millions and millions of dollars for this charity through auctioning off these barrels. And they auction off about 800 barrels a year is what they can auction off. And this wine goes for a lot more than it probably should, just face value, because of it being a charity. And a large percentage of the people buying it are on the phone in foreign countries and all over the world buying barrels of the Beaune Hospital charity auction. And, Sotheby's is running it, or different ones. So, yeah, it's quite an amazing auction. It really is.
Well, we left and went walking through the town, and the Basilica of Notre Dame that we saw last night, we went inside and toured it. That's where the big light show was. And it was beautiful inside. Very, very pretty.
Yeah, one of the many, many Notre Dame churches, which means Our Lady. It's dedicated to Mary, yeah.
But then after that, it was time. We were going to do a wine tasting here in Burgundy. And so we're going to now be driving through all these beautiful vineyards. And I mean, this countryside is just, it is spectacular. It's just, we even saw people riding bicycles through the vineyards. I thought that'd be a neat thing to do.
That would be really neat.
Take our e-bikes.
I know.
If we could get them over there.
I know, yeah, or just rent them, yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But then we toured on through after seeing all that and went to Chateau de Meursault, and that's where we had our wine reservation. Now, if you do want to do a tasting there, you do need reservations. So you need to call ahead or get on their website and take a look at that. We'll see if we can put a link in the description for them. But the nice thing is, again, Nadia's father, Willie, in his former business, used to do a lot of business with wineries and used to work through there. So he had a few little insides.
Connections.
And, yeah. So we went on the standard tour. They take you into the cellars. They explain winemaking, all of that. And they did it in English and French. So that was good. There was no language barrier there. And then we went to the tasting room and tried some very good wines from them. But then the rest of the tour group left, and just us stayed, the four of us, and then he brought out the good stuff. And so we tried several bottles of Premier Cru, Grand Cru, Burgundy wine, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was really a neat experience to get to try these types of wines when they are $400, $500, $800, $1,000 a bottle for wine.
Yeah. We bought a bottle, but not
one of those.
One of those.
And actually, Willie and Nadia gifted us a couple bottles to take back, and we've kept one, and then we've given one to my parents. And here's a little fun fact, is that white wine, as most people know, really doesn't age in the bottle like red wines do. However, Burgundy whites actually do get better with age. And so if you pick up a Burgundy white, you can look at the vintage and you can know that in most cases it is going to get a little bit better with age. So that's actually what we have. You think of Burgundy, I think a lot of times you think of red wine, but actually their white wines are really, really good. And that's what we have. We've got one aging downstairs, and so that we can enjoy it.
Well, we finished up at the wine tasting and then we went back into town. We just had a light dinner that evening, but we needed to get to bed because we're going to be heading to Switzerland tomorrow. But before we get there, we're going to still see some more of the Burgundy region.
Right. We got up, we toured, got the car loaded up with our suitcases, drove through some more of the wine fields, and just started exploring some of the little towns. We found this beautiful overlook that had a shrine of Mary that overlooked the hills and everything.
That was a nice find.
That's right. We then went to Chateau Carton, and Chateau Carton is one of the most famous, most expensive, exclusive wineries in the world. So we got a little picture of their castle there.
We didn't get inside, but
no.
we saw it from the
outside. If you want that tasting again, you need reservations,
right.
And it is a bit costly to go do that.
Right.
Well, as we were exploring the town, we saw a castle up on the hill. So we thought, well, let's just drive up there and see what that is. Went up, we got out and walked up to the castle, and the gate was all closed. It said no trespassing, but it looked like it was in fairly good repair. It wasn't, and in fact, there was like an electronic camera that was watching and all this. And we're like, what is going on here? And we hiked around, got some good pictures. But then as we walked back to the parking lot, there was somebody else there, and Willie and Nadia were talking to them. They speak like 4 languages, so they were speaking French to them. And this castle has a very interesting story.
Right, it's Castle Rochepot, and yeah, let's tell them the story.
So the castle was built in 1180, rebuilt in the 15th century, rebuilt again in the 19th century, and then it was recently acquired. And the person that acquired it turned it into kind of a bed and breakfast, an event center. You could hold weddings there. However, the person that acquired it stopped paying his bills. And so then they started looking into him. Well, they found out that the person who bought it was a Ukrainian mobster who faked his death in a car accident in 2018, I believe. And he came to France, took all his mob money, bought this castle, but didn't pay his bills. And so they looked into him, found out who it was. Well, then they ended up really finding out who he was, and they arrested him. So now he's actually in prison in France, and the government of France now has possession of the castle. Unfortunately, they had to sell off all the furniture, to pay some of the debts. And right now the castle's still in limbo. The French government's not sure what they're going to do with it because it would take an investment to open it back up again. So hopefully somebody acquires this castle and really does something with it because it's beautiful.
I hope so too. I mean, when this mobster acquired it, he acquired it for $3 million, which I'm sure was quite a steal because it's gorgeous on the outside, and the land and the view. It's just, I think he probably got a real bargain there.
Yeah. Well, until he went to jail.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this gets into, you hear us say this over and over, you never know what you're going to find around the next corner. Never be afraid to drive up that hill, climb over that mountain, take a look around that corner and just explore, and you're going to find some pretty amazing things in this world.
Well, we left Castle Rochepot, and we are now on our way to Switzerland. We're going to spend some time there tomorrow.
That's right. So that'll be the next video coming up here. And how do they make sure they don't miss it?
Oh, friends, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Thank you. We truly appreciate you all.
Right. So don't miss our Switzerland adventure because we are going to actually go into an ice cave in the middle of a glacier, 11,000 feet up on a mountain, and we're going to hike the Matterhorn. It is some of the most beautiful scenery we saw on the world cruise.
All right, friends, have a beautiful day. We will see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.